Well, hello and welcome again to River Valley Farm. It is June the 1st. June the 1st. It is 6:40 p.m. approximately. And I finished planting first crop soybeans for my uncle approximately 1 hour ago. It has been an interesting season to say the least, but this is the first time he's ever been done on the 1st of June. So we made pretty good time on that. Meanwhile, the old girl here, that big old nasty clattery thing down in there, decided that it was going to start putting engine oil in the fuel. If you don't know what that means, well, this is your video. So it quit me the other day. I pulled out of one farm and was on my way to the next with an empty truck and nothing to do, but just went and picked up my truck basically to get it to where I was going to be at, finish the day out, and it quit going down the road, like literally a quarter of a mile after I left the farm I was at with it. So on the side of the road I did a quick diagnosis, pulled the fuel filter out and looked and said, oh, it's black and nasty. I was like, damn it, I got algae. Not unheard of, be pretty rare anymore, but not unheard of. So I was like, okay, fuel filter was black and nasty. Called my wife and said, hey, bring me the fuel filter I got laying on the workbench in the garage here. She brought it to me. Well, by the time she made it down to where I was at, I had done a few more things and found out that I was pretty much out of engine oil. So the blackness became explained because the engine oil, high pressure engine oil that is used to fire the injectors, was bleeding over into the fuel system, bleeding its way into the fuel return and going back to tank. So not good. Got another truck, got a trailer, hauled it home, got it in the garage. That was, let's see, today's June the 1st, so that would have been the May 30th. So I know I've said before that I was going to use the rebuild kits from 406 Injectors to do this job. Well, guess what? I don't have time to do that right now because I have other work that I need to do with this truck. So I'm going to be an idiot and shell out $1,600 worth of injectors to buy stock remanufactured injectors and put this thing back on the road. New injectors come with new O-rings, so that'll solve that issue. And meanwhile, we get to take this apart. We got to take this off, and let's see, both valve covers have got to come off, so that's got to come off. The dipstick mounting bracket's got to come off, so on and so forth. Not a whole lot to get to it on this particular truck. But anyway, let me get started because it ain't going to get done if I don't do it. Okay, so let's see. Between that and women talking about other women's relationships, we're about an hour into getting down to the injectors. So, that being said, now we have to take the injectors out, and in the back of the heads, back here someplace, there's a plug for the oil rail, which is down, I don't know if you can see it or not, but down here where my finger is, there's a plug down there for the, that's the fuel, and then the oil rail plug should be right there. I have a tool to suck out cylinders with. I'm not going to drain those. If you do not have something that you could suck out the cylinders with, you should probably drain that. Anyway, it is imperative that you do not leave fluid in the cylinder when you put this thing back together and then try and turn it. At the least, it's going to hydro lock. At the worst, you're going to break shit. Don't do that. Okay, so I forgot to mention the oil deflector. That's what this thing is, okay? It mounts in this hole right there. I don't know if you guys can see in there or not. Hang on, let me shine a light so we can see something. And you still can't see it. But anyway, there's a hole right there to the left of that connector. That's where that melts to. Okay? That in itself disproves the whole Huey pump oil pressure change, or H-pop oil pressure change, because this is what keeps it from spraying oil all over inside the valve cover. It points it back down into the engine so that it drains back to the crankcase after every time the injector fires. Now, that being said, there are 2 hold down bolts per injector. One, very conveniently, is placed right here behind this connector, and the other one is pretty easy to get to. It's right there. This one, you will have to have a 6.5/16 or 6.8 millimeter wrench. Keep your fingers out of my shot. To get that out, okay? Or if you do not have that, then you can use a socket, but you will first have to remove the solenoid, the injector solenoid, to access it. You do not want to do that with new remanufactured injectors, okay? You don't want to take these 4 bolts out with new injectors. Don't want to do that. Bad idea, okay? So if you do not have one of those wrenches and you have an injector that is bad, the coil's bad, or it's just not firing, whatever the case may be, zip them 4 bolts out, go to the parts store, get you a new injector, but then get a wrench while you're there.
People are gonna watch it.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
We hope. Okay, so you might be able to see what I'm doing now. Anyway, if my bar is small enough, which it's not, I don't think I can do it from this way either. Nope, not really. So, okay, let me get a different bar. Okay, so, well, it may not be exactly the proper tool for the job. It'll do, so there, see that? It just popped loose. Now, let's see, do we see any? Run a bolt. Well, I don't see any blown O-rings there. So the way this works, maybe if I can get my camera to cooperate. The way this works is, okay, so this is obviously the top of the injector. It's mounted this way in the engine. It sits in there like this, right? This is your fuel galley here, okay? That O-ring seals the fuel from running down in the cylinder, okay? These two, or this O-ring and backup ring, keeps the oil, which is between here and here, in its area rather than going down into the fuel or up out into the valve cover. Okay, so we have 3 rings on the top, 2 rings on the bottom, or one big ring on the bottom here. Okay, anyway, that is it. Now I have to repeat this process 7 more times. You get the idea? I'll be back in a couple of days. Well, it'll look like a blink to you, but I'll be back in a couple of days with new injectors to put in this thing and get it done. $1,597 plus tax. $1,597 plus tax. Gotta add the tax, you know. to make the old girl right again. So $1,597 plus tax. That is less core. I'm gonna pull my old injectors out, take them to the parts store, pick up the new injectors, and give them the cores right there, because the cores are an extra $100 a piece, or 120 or something like that. I didn't even ask. I told them what I was gonna do, so they just billed me for $1,597 plus tax. That being said, it's been fun. I got more shit to do. We'll be back. Okay, so as promised, I got a special tool to suck out my cylinders with. This thing came from Harbor Freight. It is a fluid evacuator, as what they call it. It works very, very well. Sorry, I sounded like I had an Amish person pulling up in the driveway here. Anyway, works very, very well. I've used it to pump oil out of a DT466E. It's just a vacuum pump. You connect air, shop air to it there. Put your hose in here and let it do it. And then when you pour it out the same way. You just take the hose out of it and pour it out. Very nice, very simple, very easy. It comes with, let's see, 1, 2, 3 different sizes of suction hoses, and then another special hose with a valve in it to bleed brakes with. I don't know where it's at right now because I don't use it for that. But anyway, these are 3 different sizes of hose. Obviously, we have large hose, small, and slightly larger. This is the one that I use most, obviously. Today, I think we're going to use the smallest one and suck out these cylinders with the with this gizmo rather than, you know, whatever other options you may have. Okay, so I was hoping to get a bunch of dramatic footage of this thing pulling the fluids up out of the cylinder and blah 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 blah, right? Well, that didn't work because I wanted to test it, make sure it was going to work first before I did that. But anyway, I don't know how much of this you guys will be able to see, but you can see there's air coming out right now. If you look down in there, down in the injector bore, yeah, I've got the hose here stuffed down in it, and it passed through the tip bore of the injector cup just fine, no problem at all. Next on the list is to make sure it runs, right? Well, I've already done this once, so I know it does, but I'll show you anyway. So you just turn this little valve here, like so, and now we're pulling fluid. Even though that cylinder is actually on top, we're pulling fluid, and it's pulling, catching a lot of it. So that's pretty good pretty good idea. Anyway, I think I'm just going to take, while I've got the sucker thing down in there, I'm going to take a can of brake clean and just spray down in the bores, the injector bore, to clean it out. And then we'll pop an injector in there and move on down the line. That's how I'm going to do this. This gizmo is like 150 bucks. I'm personally going to use it a lot, so it's going to be well worth my investment. But, you know, for average guy who's going to bleed brakes once a year, or, you know, once every 2 or 3 years, or do this once, then probably not really worth it. But, you know, there's a whole lot of other ways to do this. There's the siphon gun. You know, I've used oil sampling stuff before. All kinds of ways to do it, but this is the way I'm doing this one right now because, well, I have that. It's a neat, nice thing, contains it. You know, the siphon guns, then you have to come up with a way to contain the stuff that you suck out because it's just aspirating it into the air, so on and so forth. So anyway, I'm going to wash these out with brake clean, like I said, and just drop an injector in as I go along. And then when I get down to number 8 back there, we'll talk about number 8 because it's different. Okay, so as I said, number 8 is different. Okay. I don't know if you can tell or not, but that last one that's not in there yet, it's its own problem altogether. So I'm going to do this like I took it apart because it's just easier that way. But as an explanation, I pulled the rocker arm off and tried to wiggle that injector out of there, and it wouldn't come out. Okay, naturally I tried to pull it just straight out like the other 3 on this side did. You know, this one and that one and that one all just kind of pull right out. But since this truck is air conditioning, that good old number 8 back there, it won't just come out. Okay, so I took the rocker arm off in hopes that I would be able to bring it out and bring it around and get it out of the way. That didn't work either. So that being said, we're gonna have to do something I told you explicitly. Do not do this. I remember saying do not do this, but we're gonna have to. So that being said, let me find my tools and I'll get right back to you. Okay, so that thing that I said explicitly do not do, here we're going to go ahead and do it. I said under no circumstances do not remove the solenoid from a new injector. Well, here we go. We're taking the solenoid off of a new injector because it will not, and I do mean will not, fit otherwise. Okay? The HVAC box over there is just, it's in the way. So you cannot do this. Super Duty trucks, I don't remember, but I'm sure it is also, or no wait, actually I bet it's the other side on them that becomes a problem with the cab. I don't remember, don't hold me to that. You know, your 99 to 03 7.3 powered Super Duty trucks, I don't remember. I haven't been into one in I don't even know how many years now. Or I should say, haven't been into one, pulled pulled an injector out of the back 2 cylinders in I don't know how long. It's been a long, long time. So anyway, just to prove that this thing really is nothing to be afraid of, that's all there is to it, okay? It's got this notch, and then when you put your injector in, it still kind of only fits one way because of the bolt, the hold down bolt for the oil deflector. But you have to take the solenoid off to get it into number 8 cylinder. It will not work otherwise. Okay then, so all in, all done. Go ahead and turn this thing on. I'm going to be very, very bad and cross the starter solenoid on the fender so I can see how this thing's going to do. But anyway, what? Nothing? Okay, good. Let's see. Where's my cross the starter solenoid tool at? Anyway, whatever. So all 8 injectors are in, all injectors are hooked up, plugged in, blah, 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 right? Everything's working, everything should be fine. So, forewarning, this is not going to be a fast start. It's not going to be an easy start. There is no fuel in the heads. There is no oil in the heads. This thing is not going to want to start. But, let's see what happens here. Well, it might be easier than I thought. give our starter a minute here. As you can see, there was still a little bit of fuel and a little bit of oil left over in the cylinders, so we had to kind of clear that out. There's no perfect way to do this where it won't do that, okay? Meanwhile, I'm going to keep trying. When I get the thing to run, I'll come back. So, okay then. We're alive again. It's still got a little ways to go with priming the system and whatnot. But as you can see, if you have a fan, you should probably turn it on because it's pretty thick in here right now. So anyway, hurrying along. Sounds pretty good right here right now, really. There's a little bit of oil pooching out all the oil deflectors. That's a good thing. It's supposed to do that. That's how it cycles the oil back into the system. And ignore the squealing belt. I think I have a vacuum pump that's on its way out, but you know, all things in good time. Get away from there. We're not in California, but that stuff causes cancer, okay? Don't worry about it. Anyway. Guess I have to sit at it, see if it actually feels any smoother than it did or not. Oh yes, way smoother. Like, oh my God, smooth now. This is I think that's the smoothest this truck has ever idled since I've owned it. Anyway, check engine light. We really don't care right now because it's purring like a kitten. Matter of fact, I bet if we cycle it, it'll go away. But anyway, enough said. Okay, so this truck is originally from California. I bought it from its second owner. It's got, I don't know, 208,000 miles on it now, I guess. It's a 95 7.3 Powerstroke, obviously. I was kind of putting off a little bit. Well, you know, I really wanted to use 406 injectors and their kit and their tooling to rebuild the stock injectors that are in this truck. This truck, there's two common types of injectors. The type AB and the type AA in the part number of the injector. This one is a California truck, as I said, so it had California emissions. So this one has the rare and expensive triple D type injector in it, or had. It doesn't have that anymore. It's got ABs in it now, but anyway. And it may well, the check engine light may well be that it doesn't, isn't learned up to the new injectors yet. But anyway, either way, guys, it's been fairly successful. The old girl runs again. All I got left to do is put the valve covers back on and the intake tubing, and we're done. But I'm done for today because I've been up since 3 this morning. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll be back later with more interesting stuff. Hopefully tomorrow I'm going to go mow hay. We'll see how that works out, but hopefully. So anyway, again, thanks for watching. I'll be back later.
Hello. Bye.
Bye? Okay, good.